So you get that email that you made your sale, you're happy. Then you get another alert from Stripe or PayPal this time that tells you, oh shit, that payment was disputed. Okay, not the end of the world. You go, you check what's happening. There is this dispute fee that you didn't anticipate, but it's unfair, right? Because it was real. So you contest that. Oh, I need to pay another $15. So there is an additional cost and it ends in a chargeback. So you're losing the money. But did you know that there are way more things that can happen that you didn't even anticipate? So here are 5 things that you need to know about disputes and that entire ecosystem of things that is running and happening under the water of the payment processing world, but no one tells you about. So the first one is the unexpected cost. So you're just starting out, you don't have like any historical data, you don't know how much disputes you will have. In fact, you're just looking on a pricing page, you're seeing the cost, right? You don't really take the cost of the disputes because it's really hard to anticipate how many of those you will actually have and put that in the same bucket. So in your perspective, this is not part of the cost, but you should calculate that because there are some benchmarks, and yes, it requires some additional overhead in the beginning, but it will give you better clarity on how much you're actually paying to your payment processor. Because once you choose a solution, if things goes right and you start growing, it's very unlikely that you will switch a solution anytime soon because you want to focus on growth. So it's good to run that math ahead of time and assume that about 1% of your payments will be turned into chargebacks, and you can calculate how much it will cost you ahead of time. Number 2, fraud is a real problem. It's a billion-dollar internet problem. It's happening all the time. Bad players will buy lists of stolen credit cards from the dark web, will try to test which ones are still working. The ones that are still working, they will try to either resell them or will use it themselves to buy high volume products from Amazon, whatever. And this is how they make money. So this is a big problem. Number 3, your checkout is most vulnerable. You are most vulnerable when you're just starting out because naturally your focus should be getting your first customers and not getting the most secure checkout out there. So attackers will try to look for your checkout. When you're just starting out, you want to get as much people to check your product and buy your product. So let's say you manage to secure a deal with an influencer and you get that big amplification from a YouTuber that millions of people heard about your product. It increases the likelihood that a bad player will hear about your product and will try to attack it. Number 4, when you have high rates of disputes, because of the lack of the historical data, payment processors or whatever is the payment solution that you're using out there can put different restrictions on your account. They can hold funds. It can be a specific percentage based on the risk that they assess. They can put different like rolling reserves. So for example, something that we've been facing recently, right, is PayPal security layer somehow false positively added a little restriction to our account that money that is coming in is being held in the account for 45 days. Plus they took an absolute number, I think it was $20,000, and they just hold it on their end. And we've been working for 3 months trying to remove those reserves completely. And this happened to us after running 10 years on PayPal without any meaningful changes in our usage. All the growth is, kind of steady. And imagine what happens if you have zero historical data. So think about Stripe and PayPal who are processing billions of dollars. Now you subscribe to their service. You are no one for them. Zero historical data. They don't know. They will ask you, what are you selling? You tell them something, but it can be a fraudster, right? Anyone can do that and say whatever they want. And now you start your activity, and before you even made any legitimate sales, 2 out of the 10 first sales are going to be disputed. So you're ending with 20% dispute rates. The benchmark on the market is 0.75. So once you cross 0.75 in dispute rates, your account is immediately flagged as high risk, right? So if you have 2 out of 10 transactions that are being disputed, you are like a massive risk. And even if your app is going to be the next future AI, generative AI, that will solve the problems of the world, they don't know that. You don't know that as well. For them, you just made 10 transactions, 2 of them were disputed. You're a massive risk. So it's so easy just to get rid of you and remove that risk because they can't really anticipate what will happen. There's no historical data. So it starts with, let's reserve some funds. Let's alert. Let's see how you improve. All of that. But it can very, very easily escalate to being banned completely. So all those escalations, it's very easy to just ban you from the service. And this is happening all the time. And there you can find stories about Stripe and PayPal kicking people out on Reddit all over the place. Number 5, this is why using a merchant of record can really make a difference. So people think about merchant of record as the solution for taxes. And then if I just starting out, I think like, who cares about taxes, right? And this is true, right? No government will go after your first sales because you didn't pay VAT in France. That's totally fine. But you need to keep in mind fraud and disputes, because that's a real risk of being banned completely from a payment processor. And when you go with a merchant of record, because the liability goes on the merchant of record, for example, at Fremius, we work with thousands of sellers, and we've been there for 10 years. So we had to evolve, add a lot of security layers, develop right practices, how we deal with disputes and chargebacks. So you just get that insurance built in. So I would say that going with a merchant of record when you're just starting out gives you that, insurance that your account is not going to be banned. As long as you're legit, you get that protection by using a merchant of record. And as an added benefit, you get all the other things and taxes as you scale, so you don't need to think about it stuff. So it's like a double win. You get that security in the beginning and security when you grow. So thanks for watching it. I hope I didn't bore you and you had a chance to learn a thing or two, or maybe 5 things. And I hope it won't happen to you. And we don't want your account to get banned. Now you understand better how the payments world works. I hope to keep sharing more of those, expose the secrets of the payments ecosystem. All right, see you next time. Bye.